Hey y'all, coming to you from the international headquarters, ScottieDTV, but I was at the 2022 SEMA Show, and there's this very cool 1969 Chevrolet Camaro out there I think y'all are going to like. Let me get the camera turned around, we'll take a quick look at it. Mike and Jim Ring, how are you this morning?
Good morning, Scotty.
Good, man, alive. A few years ago we were talking, and you told me in 21 you weren't gonna have anything at SEMA, but 22 the next year you thought you'd have 4 or 5, and man, you rolled in with 4 that are just absolutely mind-blowing. And as I was telling you before we started the interview, there's first generation Camaros done to death, but if any, a lot of people need to quit doing them, but not the Ringbrothers. Every time you do one, you just knock it out of the park, guys.
Well, thanks, Scotty. Yeah, this one was a fun project. Jim's actually worked with the owner more on this one, and Jim can kind of tell you when we met him.
Yeah, he actually called. Basically he had called me, and then he wanted his friend to talk to me. He said, I'm going to have my friend Kevin Hart call you. So Kevin ended up calling us and basically said, hey, my good friend wants to build a car, and he just wanted me to talk to you guys a little bit about what you could possibly do. And I said, well, at that time we were just buried. I said it was going to be like a year or so before we could even think about starting. He said, well, we really don't want to wait that long. And is there anything that you have, or anybody got anything they want to sell that you guys built? And just so happens that one of the customers that we were doing this Camaro for was buying a house in Florida, I believe. And he said, you know what, right now, he said, I'm cool with that. He said, I'll let him take the project over. We kind of told him what he was looking at.
Tell me some of the changes. Is this like, what was that? What was the other one you did? Kilgary, Vilkery? What was that? What was the...
Valkyrie.
Valkyrie. Is this a lot like that one?
Yeah, it's a lot like that one. It's the same body panel, except this one's all carbon, nothing exposed. And there's a lot different, but a lot similarities. The tailgate, the back end's completely different. The hood, a lot of things are the same. Interior is completely different. The body panels are the same. We changed some things, but yes, it's very similar to Valkyrie. Interiors, obviously, Jim wanted to do orange, but when the owner saw it unveiled, we'd never met him until we pulled that cover off at SEMA.
Really?
Yeah.
Truly like that.
Super nice guy. He never met him, only talked to him on the phone. Honestly, think he was very nervous about what he was getting when we pulled the cover off and he sat in the car. I think he had a tear in his eye. Gospel truth. He sat in the car and he looked at me and he goes, Jim, I would have never imagined this car being this nice. So that was pretty cool to hear from a guy you've never met before that you just spent a bunch of his money. There's a lot going on in that car too, and you talk about a handful. Actually, we brought that car back from SEMA back to the Wisconsin winter. The owner requests that we put a bunch of miles on it because he's in California, and he realizes that there's issues with this stuff that you have to shake out and make sure are right and tight and all of the above. And anybody that builds a car understands what I'm talking about. But where I was going with that is I had a couple other customers in here last week, and I was actually giving one of the guys a ride in that car. And that car is such an amazing car to drive. And I think it's because the whole body is carbon. Obviously, there's steel structure under all that carbon, but the majority of the weight in that car with the twin floor pans and the way it's built is you can feel it in the seat of your pants. And just the way that car feels driving it, you can tell something really cool about it. I gave that guy a ride, and he looked at me and he said, I've never in my life been in anything like this, especially with any age of it, because he's got some old cars. He said, this car is truly amazing. Like to ride in it and the feel of it and the power of it, I scared the crap out of him. Very, very cool car, very fun to drive. That probably was the last time anybody will ever skip one of those cars without maybe redesigning it, just for the fact that the molds that were built for that vehicle were really a one-pole mold, and we ended up getting 2 out of it. I guarantee you, if you're a Camaro guy, bring any Camaro you want, as far as early Camaro, and drive both of these vehicles. There's something special about that car.
There's nothing on this car that's 1969 Camaro original factory stuff, is there?
Just the side glass. That's it. The side glass is the only thing that you could. I mean, that car is 5 inches wider in the rear. It's like, I'd say, a Beyonce booty on it. It's just got a great hips, and then from the door it tapers forward to 1.5 inches wider up front per side, so 3 inches wider in the front. And then the overall car length is the same, but we moved the wheelbase ahead 1.5 inches to even stub the nose a little more to give it more of a BMW feel. If you notice, the hood goes all the way back to the windshield. There's no cowl anymore. The header panel is about twice as wide as a regular 69. You know, the grills up front, in front of the hood, that's the intake for the airbox that funnels through into the Wagner. And that car, believe it or not, we pulled, 250 horse out of it because it's so strong. I mean, that car is, when people say they want 16, 18, 25, I don't know what they're thinking.
I'm just saying, driving that car, first gear you want nothing to do with besides just taking off. Second gear, you do not want to even come close to putting your foot in it until you're about 4,000 RPMs. And then when you mash the gas at that point, besides the tires breaking loose, it's got a lot of traction. You are so on the edge at that point and you're probably doing at that point, and I'm not exaggerating, 70 miles an hour. And then you hit third gear, it's like being catapulted into 120 instantaneously. When we were tuning that vehicle, Gary, our tuner, we had it at 100%. You couldn't do that. I mean, you couldn't keep them tires from spinning in third gear and violently spinning. My heart's pounding a little bit, and I'm looking at Gary. I said, Gary, we got to turn this down. Like, there's no way we're going to leave this way. So we kept playing with it, and he literally took 25% of the throttle out of that thing, and it's still way more than you want. So if he calls and needs more power, it's a matter of a simple tune, but it's a monster.
That's what you want, though. You want it dialed into right where you can go out and use all that you've got, but not have a bunch more that's just going to do nothing but get you into trouble.
You want them safe. You know, that car's got a full cage in it. It's hidden very well. Yeah, we take pride in people using our stuff, but we want them to be safe and have fun. Unless he tracks it, which I know he's not going to. Let's face it, there's not a lot of guys. Hell, NASCAR doesn't put that kind of motor in their cars. You know what I mean?
That's right.
It's like enough's enough. And that measuring stuff, it's all good and fun, but unless you're a street racer with big old tires, it's not going to do you much.
What power is it?
What power? It's a
LS3.
Of course, Wagner, our buddies. It might be one of the last motors Carl ever did. We've had it for a little while, so Carl passed away, but he's our man. His boy runs it now. Casey does an amazing job, but I think that motor still came from when Carl was alive. But that Whipple 2.9, it's compact. It runs hard. We put big chillers in them. We make them not heat soaked too bad, and I'll tell you what, anybody runs a Wagner, they know they run, and they run hard. And honestly, that car will get 25 miles to the gallon. Jim will tell you it's like driving his pickup if you don't have your foot into it. It's just easy driving car. It's not radical. The name was kind of fun because we tried to banter a little bit. Kevin Hart named his Roadrunner Michael Myers from the movie Halloween. We had actually talked him into painting it white when our media company came up with the name Strode, because Michael Myers could never catch Strode to kill her, his sister or whatever. He could never catch her, right, with the knife to kill her. So since they're buddies, we said that Roadrunner's not going to catch this Camaro. That's why the insignias have Michael Myers' face on the knives that we machined for Strode's badging. And even in the back seat, if you look, and when in the trunk it's got a badge that says everybody's entitled to a little scare. So we definitely, a good scare. So we definitely tried to banter Kevin a little bit with it, and it's a fun, usable, proud to have built car.
Y'all killed another one. Thanks so much for giving me some time this morning, guys.
No problem, Scotty.
So there you go, from the 2022 SEMA Show and Ringbrothers, a very cool 1969 Camaro. Hope you all have enjoyed it. See ya!
Hey y'all, make sure you subscribe to this channel and visit ScottieDTV.com for an easy way to search the hundreds of videos I have posted. Either click the link in the description or the one at the end of this video.